How to delete your fear of failure. What's the one thing that you want to do, but you keep not doing, or you keep procrastinating on it? Maybe it's that you want to start studying more seriously. Maybe it's going back to school. Maybe it's applying for a job, doing an exam, trying to make that promotion. But the reason that you don't start is not because you're lazy. It is most likely because you're scared of failing. And today I'm going to show you how to delete your fear of failure, not with just like willpower and motivation, but by understanding what fear actually is and why it feels so strong and how you can weaken it like step by step. Because fear is not a warning sign, it's actually a signal that something is untrained. And here's one thing that you need to understand about fear. Fear in this day doesn't actually mean danger anymore. Fear in this day is more about uncertainty, because your brain is built to keep you safe and not necessarily cares about whether you are successful, yes or no. Let's go back thousands of years ago. Fear meant the following: if I mess this up, I might die. For example, if you don't hunt well, you will die because the tiger will eat you. Or if you don't find enough food, then you and your family might die. Today, the fear sounds more like, okay, if I mess this up, I might look stupid, or I might fail, or I might disappoint someone. It's the same brain, but the perception of what happens is different because the world has changed and we don't have to be afraid of dying anymore. But your brain cannot tell the difference between that lion that is chasing you, or you are potentially failing an exam, or getting rejected, or you start something new and you're not perfect at it yet. It hits that panic button right away. That's why when they often say fear is like paralyzing, you have that fight, flight, or freeze response, even when nothing bad is actually happening. To make this more personal, I want to show you how it has impacted my life. In my final year of high school, I went into my exams with 3 failing grades. Not low grades, failing grades. If I didn't score high enough on my final exams, I would have to retake the year. As you can imagine, I was a bit scared of that. Pressure was pretty high. I would admit that I was really scared. Not because I didn't care, but because if I were to fail, it felt like proof that I wasn't smart enough or I wasn't good enough. But here's the key part and the most important thing I want you to take away. I kept taking action anyway. Even though that the outlook wasn't great, we didn't quit yet and we kept moving forward. The actions that I took, they weren't perfect. They were super messy. I'm also not confident. I had a bunch of tutor and extra additional support in order to prepare. I just sucked it up, took action, and I studied, and eventually I showed up to the exam and I did all of that uncomfortable work, going through all of the self-doubt and these things. Eventually I graduated without any failing grade. I managed to score high enough such that it will equal a passing grade, which was amazing. And again, the fear didn't disappear, but it didn't stop me to keep going. With that personal example, I want to show you that this is applicable to so many areas of life, as well as so many students that we've worked with. If the fear didn't stop me, then it should also not stop you. And the next part that I want you to understand is why fear of failure feels so personal. Here's what the most people get wrong. It's not necessarily that they fear failure. They fear what failure means about them and how they think other people will perceive them. You might think, if I fail, I'm not smart enough. If I fail, I'm not capable. If I fail, I prove everyone right that I couldn't do this. That's what makes this fear so heavy. It's because the results are tying into your identity, and the outcome is going to be tied to that identity as well. So now, the studying isn't just studying. It is also not just an exam. And a result is just not feedback. It becomes eventually a judgment of who you think you are for other people. That's why perfectionism shows up. A lot of people want to be perfect these days because that is what they think other people expect from them. That's why comparison shows up. We are continuously looking at what other people do and if we are doing better or worse. That's why procrastination eventually shows up. Because when we start to feel that we're behind, or we still feel that we're not good enough, we feel bad about ourselves and then we procrastinate. Because if you don't try, you can't fail. And if you can't fail, your ego feels safe. but your life stays the same and stays small. Again, personal story, first year of university. After high school, I went into a bachelor's program, and guess what? I failed about 50% of my exams in the first year. Same fear again, same panic, same thoughts, same self-doubt, but this time something has changed. Instead of blaming systems, blaming exams, blaming teachers, me and my family kept asking a different question. Okay, what skills am I missing? Not what's wrong with me, but how am I studying right now? How am I managing my time? How am I preparing? And we figured out that that was not good. So we looked for solutions and didn't come up with a bunch of excuses. We took ownership of what we are doing. And that mindset changed eventually everything. And I passed all of the retakes. And after that, I never had a retake again in my life. You are wondering, what are these principles then to delete the fear of failure? I'm going to share with you 7 principles. I want to give you clear, practical principles that you can start using immediately. These are not theory, not motivation, like actionable steps and tools that you can implement right away. The first thing that I want you to do is to separate real danger from discomfort. Ask yourself the question, what is the worst realistic outcome? Not the emotional one, a realistic one. Failing an exam usually means that you have a retake. You have more time and you might have some additional temporary stress. The realistic outcome is not that your life is over or that you're a failure forever. By already labeling that, your fear shrinks when you actually name it and when you actually become very realistic about it. The second thing I want you to do is that you want to detach your identity from results. You are not your grades. You are not your productivity and you are not your outcomes. Results are feedback of actions that you take. So when you say, instead of I failed, change it to this strategy failed. That one sentence there will lower your fear instantly. And now you're going to look for solutions in terms of different strategies and tools. Because again, like with my example, I failed, and I say I failed, but at that moment, I didn't know that there were different learning methods that actually would make me save and pass these exams. The third thing I want you to understand is that fear disappears through repetition and building more proof. So not thinking. Confidence is not really a mindset thing. It's a byproduct of reps and proof. The first time you do something, fear is going to be super loud and you're going to feel uncomfortable and you are going to feel scared. The 10th time that you do it, it's quiet. And the 15th time, it's only going to be some background noise, because eventually this action and doing the thing trains the nervous system and shows it that even though that you perform this action, you're still safe. You're like still sitting in this room, breathing, and whether you indeed study or not, it's not going to make you die or hurt you. That shift is going to be crucial there. The fourth thing I want you to do is to make failure small and boring, because big goals often create very big fears. Shrink the tasks at hand. So sometimes people become super afraid when they say to themselves, I need to do this thing for 2 hours a day for the next 30 days. That's a very big commitment, and that might make you a bit anxious and scared. So you're not going to say, I need to pass this exam, because that's an outcome. You're going to look at what input and what effort you can put in. So you're going to say, I will study for 25 minutes, because the fear is going to be from the intention of passing that exam. And when we break it down to, I'm just going to study for 25 minutes, an action that could lead to a positive outcome, it's easier to get going with that. Number 5 is that I want you to expect difficulty instead of hoping for it to be easy. Most people quit because they feel like it's hard and therefore something must be wrong. And this is not true. When something is hard, it means that you're actually learning. Once you expect difficulty and you're going to say, okay, this is probably going to take longer than I expect, fear eventually loses its power and you're just going to not allow it to take over for you. Number 6 is about stop comparing your chapter 1 to someone else's middle or advanced stages. Comparison eventually multiplies your fears, because the thing that you don't see is their failures, their retries, their bad days. The only thing that you see is someone's outcomes. When you see me making this video right now, You don't know that for the last 10 years, I've been indeed developing the skills of learning productivity, time management, overcoming fear, dealing with procrastination. That's 10 years that you don't see, that is not recorded, and that is not out there in the real world. The only thing that you see right now is me making this video and thinking, oh, wow, look, he's sharing all of these tips and I want to do the same, but I'm not there yet. That is because there's this huge gap between what I've done in my life, what you've done in your life. And maybe you've done things that I've never done. So you're 1-0 ahead there. Do I care about that? No, not really, because I respect that you put in time and effort into something that was meaningful for you. I want you to run your own race. That being said, we get to the last point, the 7th point. I want you to build as much proof through small wins, because confidence eventually comes from evidence, like we shared earlier. Show your brain that you did what you said that you would do, especially when it's small. That is going to help you build confidence in the repetition, and therefore with confidence you're going to be less afraid, because again you have created this proof record and this track record of surviving these hard things. So here's a final personal reflection, and here's the part that most people don't expect. All the things I now teach, how to learn, how to manage your time, how to beat procrastination, are the exact things I was terrible at in high school and university. And today we have over 500,000 followers on Instagram, almost 200,000 on Facebook, a 6-figure coaching business, 7 people on the team. And that is not because I'm special, but because I learned this one thing, and that there's almost nothing I can't do if I stay consistent, accept difficulty, and keep moving forward despite the fear. Because the fear didn't disappear. I still have it. I just stopped letting it make the decisions for me and make me procrastinate. Now, if you found this interesting, if this hits home, what's my next video on honest truth about learning nobody's willing to share with you, but that you should be aware of?